key to allowing the United States to maintain the congressional support it wanted to continue giving assistance to El Salvador. What has happened in Guatemala, in at least the Dos Aires case, is a remarkable collaboration of Guatemalan civil society and the public ministry in investigating in a very sophisticated way a very difficult case and achieving a remarkable record of successful prosecutions of Caibiles responsible for the Dos Aires massacre. And it was primarily the result of, remarkable efforts by three women who've already been mentioned, Aura Elena Farfan of Damdegua, who found the two Caibiles who were willing to talk, Sarah Romero, who became a young auxiliary fiscal in 1996 and was handed this dog of a case when the government decided it had to investigate it, and for the next 15 or 20 years spent incredible efforts to identify the two boys who were kidnapped, and Claudia Pasipas, who led the effort to ultimately begin these prosecutions. I have here the expediente of the most recent prosecution of a Caibile, Pedro Pimentel Rios, who was convicted in March and sentenced to over 6,000 years for his involvement in the Dos Aires case. And it's a remarkable construction of a prosecution with two witnesses who were willing to testify, whose testimony, two Caibiles, Ibanez and Pinzon, whose testimony in elaborate detail identified everybody who was there and what everybody did and what happened during those 3 days of terror. But that was testimony that had to be corroborated. And I having talked to Aura Elena Farfan and knowing something about what Sarah Romero did, these two individuals, one a lawyer and one a non-lawyer, realized that this testimony to be credible to a judge, to courts, had to be corroborated. And they knew that the additional testimony of the two cooperating Caibiles, the two boys, a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, had been kidnapped. If they could find those two boys, it would corroborate the testimony, and they succeeded in doing that. One of the boys, Ramiro Osario Cristales, was 5. He's an eyewitness to what happened there because he can remember some of it. The other, Oscar Ramirez, the fact of his kidnapping and the physical evidence that supports that he was the boy who was kidnapped is also physical evidence corroborating the testimony of these two cooperating Caibiles. This is a remarkable case, and Guatemala should be holding it up as an example of what they can do and what their government, what the Perez Molina government is doing to reestablish Guatemala's legitimacy in the world community, and having created on their own, without all the efforts that the FBI and the Justice Department put into places like El Salvador and Peru to create justice systems, they did it on their own. And I'm hoping that the government recognizes the importance of efforts like this and uses them to its advantage. It's also hugely important in the United States.